What up, Wastelanders? Christopher here, Gaslands NorCal. Thanks for joining me once again for another conversion video. Now, as you can see, this is a little bit bigger than the vehicles we're normally dealing with. Usually it's, regular Hot Wheels, die-cast, Matchbox size. This is a 180 or 132 scale, so it is much bigger, but I've never done one before. I've done micro machines, I've done regular size Hot Wheels, so I figured, what the heck, let's do one of these. We are going to be using a lot of the same bits and pieces that I used my normal builds, the armor, some monster truck wheels, which on these will be regular size wheels. I got this big old missile launcher turret thing that was going to be used for, some sort of defense on the board. Now it's just going to be a regular size missile launcher because it fits in just perfectly in there. Armor pieces and everything, got some chains we're going to throw on there. Yeah, so this is going to be a different build. It'll be interesting. We'll kind of see how it turns out. But yeah, first things first, we gotta get this thing apart. It's going to be coming apart a little bit easier since it's got screws instead of rivets. But yeah, let's get this baby apart and then we will get her into the stripper. Alright, so we're all stripped up, doors open and everything. Got everything taken off. It actually took a little bit longer to get this thing taken apart than normal. There's a lot of little bits and pieces that went along with it. I have to kind of get those back in once I get it all painted up and stuff. Now for the primer, I am going to be using this MIG one-shot primer, the brown oxide primer. I'm going to do things a little bit backwards. Instead of painting it and then chipping it and rusting it, I'm going to do it all in this brown oxide primer, and the normal chipping method I use, the sponge method, that's what I'm going to use to actually apply the paint. So I want the paint to be even more chipped and older looking since this is a 1955. And for that, for the paint, I'm going to be using this Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl Faded Green. It works out really well with the older cars. It's kind of one of the older colors that Chevy used in the 50s, so it'll work out really well. Yeah, and then we're gonna kind of go from there. Got all the parts ready to go, ready to get primed up and stuff. But yeah, it's a different build, something I don't normally do, the size and everything. But yeah, let's get this thing primed up and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, now while that dries, we're going to start working on the bits and pieces and stuff and the wheels and everything. Like I said, these are just the regular weapons that I use in my other builds for the larger stuff, like for monster trucks and whatnot, but these will be the right size for a truck of this size. So I'm going to get these all painted up, primed up into black like I normally do, larger armor pieces and everything, exactly like I do with the other ones. Then we'll get primed up in black, dry brushed in silver for the weapons and the armor. And then by that time, the truck should be dry, and then we'll start working on getting the paint going. Alright, we're all dried up and ready to go. Really like how that brown oxide turns out, looking really good. Next, we're moving on to the Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl, the Faded Green. Going to be using the sponge method, so basically just kind of blotting it, tapping it on a paper towel, and then just blotting it on there, kind of like the chipping effect that I normally use. If this doesn't work, I'll just have to reverse it and paint this and then do the chipping for the brown. For the rest, I'm going to be using a new method I saw online using panel liner and the powders. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I've done it on one other build. It turned out pretty well. But first, let's get the green on there and then we'll move on from here. Alright, so we're all dried up and everything now with the green. The next step is going to be moving on to doing the rust. Now, like I said, I saw this on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, and it involves panel liner. You just kind of coat it in the areas that you painted brown, and then you put the pigments over it, let it dry, and brush it off, and it actually turns out really, really cool. The way that they did it online was mainly using the brown panel liner, which I don't have. It should be here in about a week or so. So we're going to go with the black and see how that turns out. Like I said, I've done it before and it turned out really cool. So that's what we're going to go with. So like I said, we're just going to coat all these areas in the brown kind of liberally with the black panel liner, and then we will really heavily coat it with the pigments, and then we'll let that dry and dust it off or brush it off, and we will see how it turns out. So let's get that going. Alright, so we're pretty heavily coated. You gotta kind of work pretty quick because the panel liner stuff will kind of dry out, evaporate relatively fast. Make sure you're working in a kind of a aired out area because it can get kind of stinky. So yeah, we're gonna let this dry for about 5 minutes or so, and then we're gonna dust it off and then see which areas need to be touched up a little bit more. But yeah, looking really rusty so far, looking really good. I'm liking it. I like this method. I may be using it a little bit more in the future. So let's let this dry off, and then we will move on and see how it goes. Alright, so we are all dried up, dusted off, and everything else. Really like how this turns out. It really does give it a very rusted, aged look. So now we're going to get it back together and then start getting the wheels and the armor and the weapons and everything put on there. And then, yeah, this thing will be ready for display. Wastelands. I'm not sure if there's any larger scale movement templates. I'm sure there are somewhere out there, but yeah, let's get this thing back together and see how it turns out. Alright, so we're all back together. Cracked up the windshield a little bit. Got the bumper all rusted up and everything. Only put in one of the headlights, just thought that it looked better with just one. It puts the armor and weapons on next and the wheels and everything, but yeah, this thing is a rusted up looking beast. I mean, I can just imagine it sitting out in some field or something, but nope, we are gonna stick some wheels and some weapons and everything on it, and it's gonna be going to the wastelands. Alright, and there we have it. One 55 Chevy Truck, one 32 scale? Yeah, one 32 scale. Just because I've never done one before, wanted to do one and see what it was like, and like I said, maybe there's some movement templates out there that would fit for this, for the wastelands, for gaslands, but I don't know. I'm sure there probably is. Somebody's probably done it, or they may do one eventually. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I like how the that new weathering, rusting technique works. I'm definitely going to have to be using that a little bit more, especially when I get the new panel liner, the brown panel liner, and I think that's supposed to work better. But yeah, this works out great. I think it looks awesome. If you enjoyed this video, you learned something, do me a favor, hit that like button. My goal is to do weekly videos, whether they're vehicle builds, terrain builds, whatever. So if that's for you, please hit the sub button below and ring the bell to get notified when new content drops. I do sell all my builds pretty inexpensively on my Etsy page, so if you want to check out what I've done, see what else I have put up there, or you can even request a custom build. Until next time, keep your foot on the gas and your finger on the trigger. Gaslands NorCal, signing out.
Ha 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 ha!